guys. All right, I know I've already got your attention because I never post anything on Facebook. I've never done a video myself, much less even posted on Facebook. So I've got my phone camera propped up here on a Tupperware full of crayons and books and whatnot. So if it falls over some point, I apologize. I don't know what I'm doing, but I felt compelled to do a video on Prop 57 because if you're anything like me, you don't read anything on Facebook anymore, especially during election season because there's so much BS out there. But I thought maybe if I did a video, people would watch it. I've had a lot of people calling me and asking me for my opinion on Prop 57 because I used to work for the Department of Corrections. I was a parole agent for many years. So I understand sentencing guidelines and how the system works, and they were just really confused by the proposition. And you know, when I first heard about it, I laughed. I was like, oh hell no, the voters will never pass that. That's insane. But why are people confused by it? Like, why are they even having to ask me about it? So I decided to take a look at my voter registration guide to figure out what they had to say about it, because obviously they've got to say good things about it because they want you to vote for it. So how did they bill this to you? So you will check that box, yes. So first and foremost, they've labeled it the Public Safety and Rehabilitative Act of 2016. Are you kidding me? This proposition has absolutely nothing to do with public safety. It's the antithesis of public safety. Our streets, if this is passed, will be much less safe. The only thing that this proposition has anything to do with is saving money. Jerry Brown wants to look like he's saved the state millions and millions of dollars by passing this proposition and releasing thousands and thousands of dangerous, violent criminals back out onto our streets. So let me explain to you what the proposition is. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because it is very confusing to read and to understand how it all works. But basically in the proposition, it explains what will still be deemed a felony: murder, rape, certain subsections, of child molestation. Some will be and some will not be a violent felony anymore. What it doesn't tell you is what will no longer be considered a violent felony. You have to figure that out on your own based on what's not in here. So what's not in here is no longer considered a serious violent felony, and thus gives offenders the opportunity for good time credits, which means they're going to get released a lot sooner. So here are some of the crimes that are no longer considered violent felonies: rape by intoxication, rape of an unconscious person, human trafficking involving sex acts with minors, drive-by shooting, totally nonviolent, assault with a deadly weapon, taking a hostage, domestic violence involving trauma. When I was a parole agent, I always got a copy of the police report from the commitment offense, and there would be photographs attached, obviously, of the victim. And I wish you could see the pictures of these women who had had their faces pummeled by their partner and received a sentence for domestic violence involving trauma. Tell me that's not violent. You couldn't even recognize their face. Supplying a firearm to a gang member, lewd acts on a child. Hate crime causing physical injury, failing to register as a sex offender, arson causing great bodily injury. Go ahead, start somebody on fire. It's not a violent felony. Felon obtaining a firearm, discharging a firearm on school grounds. Really, Jerry? False imprisonment of an elder. Shame on you, Jerry Brown, for putting this proposition on the ballot. Shame on you. California voters deserve better than this. Over the past 20 or 30 years, we have been passing legislation, prop after prop after prop, trying to make our streets safer, trying to get stricter sentencing guidelines to keep people in prison longer that don't deserve to be on the street. These guys don't need to be released early. They need to get stricter sentences. I can't even imagine, except because it's a fiscal thing, it's a money thing, what would make somebody look at that and think that that's appropriate to try to pass off as a public safety act. It's anything but that. The other thing this proposition does is it gives CDCR the ability to give good time credits to murderers, rapists, those offenders that are in prison for those still violent felonies, good time credits for not getting in any trouble, not getting any new 115s, which is an in-custody misconduct. Trust me, that's not that hard to do when you're in prison, because inmates don't snitch on each other. So you can now, even if you're a murderer or rapist, you can get good time credit for not getting in any trouble, or for taking some classes while you're in prison. Of course they want to take classes when they're in prison. They're bored. They got nothing else to do. They're going to do that, and they're going to get good time credit now, and they're going to be back out on the streets earlier because they got that good time credit. There's a number of other things involved with this proposition that make it a very, very dangerous proposition. I just really, really hope that you take a look at it and vote your conscience when you do this, because if this proposition passes, it's going to be a disaster for law enforcement and for the community in the state of California, because we've got to deal with having these guys back out on the street. This is not how you rehabilitate people, by letting them back out on the street. We have to start from the ground up. These guys have already done this. They need to pay the price. Oh, the other thing it does, sorry, I've got to explain this as well. The other thing it does is it releases an offender from all consecutive sentences. So basically, if you commit 20 different crimes, you'll only have to serve the term for the one crime, the first crime. So you can be an Andrew Luster and get convicted of 20 counts of rape by intoxication. You're only going to serve that first term. You're going to serve very little amount of time now. So, we don't want to have to treat one offender any different than the other offender. So if you only committed one rape and you committed 20 rapes, we don't want to treat you guys any differently. Hell yes, we do. Those guys that are habitually committing these crimes over and over and over again, they need to be in prison longer. They need to serve their sentence and be in there to keep our community safe. The number one priority of any of these propositions should be public safety. That is not the priority of this proposition. And that is a farce to call this the Public Safety and Rehabilitative Act. This is about saving money by kicking people out of prison and putting them back on the streets. Please think about that, and please share this video again and again and again with anybody that you know that lives in the state of California, that's a resident, a voter in the state of California, to get the word out what this is really about, so they don't just simply read the title of it, see that it's going to supposedly save millions of dollars, and just check that box. Because trust me, in the long run, it will not save money, because these guys are going to get out and they're going to do much, much more heinous crimes, and then they're going to end up in prison for life anyway. So let's not pass this proposition right now. If you want to make some sentencing guideline changes, this is not the way to do it. Thank you.